Hi, I'm Katrina from Unity of New Orleans. Welcome to our Sunday service. Let us begin with our invocation written by Charles Fillmore. We are now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom, now erase our mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to thy perfect law. And the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Well, it's back to school time, and so we are going to begin with the first lesson of unity, which is oneness. And I've entitled this talk, The Illusion of Separation. I'd like to start with a fable, a little story that comes from our indigenous ancestors, the Native Americans, who inherited this land before we all arrived here. And this is a lesson about strength in unity. So there was a chief who was dying, and as he was on his deathbed, he was very concerned that his 4 sons were always fighting, and he thought that this would jeopardize the integrity of the tribe. And so as he lay there on his deathbed, he called his 4 sons into his teepee, and he brought a bundle of sticks. And he handed this bundle to his oldest son, and he said, I want you to break this bundle of sticks. And so his oldest tried and used all his force and all his might and could not break the bundle. So he handed it off to the second son. And of course, the second son thought that he could because he believed he was stronger, and he tried as well, but just couldn't break this bundle of sticks. So he handed it off to the third son, and naturally the third son thought he was better than the others, and that was the big point of contention. And he tried and could not do a thing with this bundle of sticks. So he finally handed it to the youngest. And the youngest had this idea, and he thought, if I break each stick individually, I break the bundle. And that's what he did. One at a time, he took the sticks out, broke them in half, and then he showed his father and his brothers, you see, I'm the strongest. But his father, the chief, said, no. What I would like for you to recognize here is that together as a unit you are strong. In oneness is your strength. So stay together, work together, be united as brothers and as a tribe. And that was the legacy of this great chief, and his sons went on to fulfill that legacy. So today I would like to share this concept of oneness and separation, because this is really our most basic teaching. So as all the kids are going back to school, let's start with the first lesson. Now, it was Albert Einstein who said, a person's experience of life as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. Our task must be to free ourselves from this self-imposed prison, and through compassion to find the reality of oneness. The reality of oneness, says this great scientist, through compassion. Let us find our oneness. But you know, that is not what we are taught. We are actually taught separation, and we are taught duality. So as we unpack this concept of the illusion of separation, illusion meaning a false belief. Separation is a human bias, but yet that is what our culture teaches us. In fact, the very beginning of the Bible introduces the concept of duality and separation. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, it says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth." Duality. Now the earth was formless and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. At least God was present. And then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. So God was biased. And he separated the light from the dark. And he called the light day, and he called the darkness night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. So in the very beginning of the Bible, we have duality, we have separation, and we have bias. We have the heavens and the earth. We have lightness and dark. Lightness is good, which means dark is bad. What is that saying to us? And then we have the evening and the morning. And that is indeed what our culture teaches us. In the very beginning of life, we are taught this duality. As soon as you're given a name, you have an identity which makes you distinct and separate from the rest. And then you learn to identify with your family and your culture and your ethnicity and your race and your gender and your body and your personality and your ego, and the list goes on and on and on. And what we're taught is that we're different, we're separate, we are not one with each other. Now, I was raised in a very conservative Mormon family, and that is exactly what they taught me. They taught me that we are different. And so as a kid, I walked around thinking I was different, and everybody treated me as different. And it's true that the Mormons do have a distinct belief system, and they also practice in a unique way that does set them apart. But it's the teaching that you're not like the rest, that you're separate, that you're exclusive, that you're different, that you have the whole truth. Whatever story you've been told is what keeps us apart from each other. And what I'd like to suggest today is that our strength comes in our unity. Now, this idea of personality is something that Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore taught about. We're going to look at personality and ego because these are the two things that keep us separate. And Mr. Fillmore wrote in The Revealing Word that the personality is the sum total of the characteristics that each person has personalized as distinct of himself or herself, independent of others and of divine principle. So your personality not only separates you from others, but it separates you from divine principle. It's who we think and feel that we are. But it's an attitude of mind that distorts our true uniqueness into a sense of separateness. About the ego, Mr. Fillmore writes, the personal self is the ego around which revolve all thoughts that bind us to error. We cannot cross all out at once, but little by little we cast out the specific thoughts that have accumulated and built up the false state of consciousness that comes from his book, Christian Healing. So he said, while the ego, the personal self, is our greatest weakness, it's also our greatest strength, because all the treasures of God, which are the treasures of oneness, the divine ideas that come from divine mind, must pass through our ego consciousness. We must use our ego to awaken to the awareness of oneness. Now, this might seem like a contradiction for those of you that have traveled through various spiritual circles, because we are taught that the ego is a problem. And indeed, if you identify with your ego, it can take you away from your higher self, your divine self. But as we learn here, it's through the ego that we can wake up to the awareness of oneness by integrating these divine ideas into our consciousness. I think that is so profound, and I really appreciate that unity teaches us that the ego serves a purpose. It can be one of your greatest strengths. So let us affirm, I am one with all creation. Now let's unpack this idea of oneness a little bit. I heard somebody ask recently in the unity community, what does that mean, oneness? And while it may seem simple, it can also be a little complex. So again, let's look to some indigenous wisdom. Chief Seattle said, humankind has not woven the web of life. We are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. All things are bound together. All things connect. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. That sounds like the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So as we unpack this idea of unity, this concept is central in the Vedanta, which are the ancient scriptures from India that include the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, this idea of oneness is an essential pillar at the root of their teachings. Unity is the song of life, the Vedas teach us. It is the grand theme underlying the rich variations that exist throughout the universe. Unity is the song of life. Let us sing the song of unity. Everything that we see and experience is a manifestation of this eternal oneness. The source that animates your body and mine animates the whole universe. In fact, you and I are made of the same stardust as the planets and the stars. That is incredible to me to think about. We truly are all one. Now, what the Vedas teach us is that this God self with a capital S is within me, and it's in you, and it's in all of creation. And our indigenous elders also saw that God is everywhere, present in the ocean and the trees and the rivers and the mountains. God is everywhere. This divine source is present in all of creations. So this self with the capital S is everywhere, says the Upanishads. Whoever sees all beings in the self, the God self, and the God self in all beings, hates none. For one who sees oneness everywhere, how can there be delusion or grief? All fear and misery arise from our sense of separation from the great cosmic unity. Duality, or our sense of separation from the rest of creation, is always a misperception, since it implies that something exists other than God. And what we teach in unity is that there is one source, and that source is good. and that it doesn't matter what you call that source, whether it's the quantum field or Great Spirit or love or God. It's all the same source. And that source is within you and within me and in all of the universe. There was this great yogi named Swami Vivekananda who came to the United States in 1893, and he taught at the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago. And it was there that the Fillmores actually met this great yogi and changed their lives. In fact, this was the first exposure that they had to yoga and meditation and the Vedas. And after meeting Vivekananda, one of the very first correspondence courses that Unity offered was a course of teachings about yoga that was written by Vivekananda. So this great Swami is very influential in the Unity movement. And this is what Vivekananda said about oneness. The self, the God self with the capital S, is the essence of the universe, the essence of all souls. You are one with the universe. He who says he is different from others, even by a hair's breadth, immediately becomes miserable. Happiness belongs to the one who knows this oneness and is one with the universe. So oneness brings happiness, and separation, misery. So it seems all good, right? What a great concept. But is that really true? Are we all one? I mean, we are all different. How can we all be one? So as an example, I'd like to think about the human body. We have this amazing organism with 37 trillion cells and 200 different cell types. So you have brain cells and liver cells and lung cells and heart cells, and they each have their uniqueness, their individual traits. And they all serve a specific role. And together, when they work in harmony, this body functions. So have you ever had a time when some part of your body decided to go haywire, maybe not function? Maybe you experienced a health crisis, or maybe you had a heart condition. So you know how fragile your body can be if just one unit decides to stop working in harmony with the rest. And you know what we call a clump of cells that goes haywire and does their own thing? We call that cancer. So the body is actually a great example of how all these different parts can work together harmoniously to create this amazing organism that is the temple of your soul. So let us affirm, I am one with all creation. Now for the last point here, we're going to look at what is our true identity. And this is what Mr. Fillmore called individuality. Just like you have individual liver cells and heart cells and lung cells with their unique traits that all work together. Individuality is defined in the revealing word as what we really are when we think in our unlimited spiritual consciousness. In your unlimited spiritual consciousness, you are an individual. You are that spark from the source. One's individuality is that part of the one that never changes its identity, said Emily Cady in Lessons in Truth. It is the God self. So individuality is your true self. It is that which is undivided from the source. It's our spiritual identity, that which characterizes us as distinct or a particular manifestation of the divine principle. Your individuality is eternal. It can never be destroyed. So individuality is what we truly are and always will be. You are an individuation of the source, and that God's source is within you. It is our unique and individual expression. It's composed of the attributes of our spiritual nature, which is our true identity. So I'd like to do a little demonstration here, very simple. If I take a pitcher of water, and we think of this as the source. This water is the source. If I pour this water into a glass, does the source change? No, it's the same source, but it's an individual aspect of the source. Taken further, if I pour it into another glass, but it looks different, is it the same source? Yes, it's still water. It just has unique traits, unique attributes. And one more. Water from the source. This one looks different even still. Is it the same water? Yes. It's just unique in its expression, just as you and I are unique expressions of the same source. And Jesus said in the Gospel of John, I and my Father are one. In other words, I am an expression of God, the divine, the source. Jesus also said, I am the light of the world. And he said, you are the light of the world. So here is this great teacher teaching us what every ancient culture, at the root of every spiritual tradition, that we are divine beings, that we are all one. So let us affirm, I am one with all of creation. And now let's talk about putting these principles into action. The simplest way to think about it is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. For in truth, what we do to others, we do to ourselves. This is a basic law of the universe. Action equals reaction. What you put out, you get back. And this includes not only our actions, but our thoughts and our words. Did you know that your thoughts actually impact your electromagnetic field around your body? And as a collective, our thoughts impact the electromagnetic field around the planet. It's pretty incredible when you think about how powerful your thoughts are and what an impact they can have on not only you, but your community and the entire globe. So we are intrinsically connected, and let us live in a way that allows us to become aware of this interconnectedness and seek to express it in our daily lives. This will always result in more harmony, in more love and more compassion, and definitely a more peaceful planet. So in conclusion, from the beginning of life, we are taught duality and separation. And we learn to identify with our ego, with our personality, with our family, with our culture, whatever separates us from others. But the truth is that we are from the same source, and that is the source that animates your life and all of creation. You are made as the same stardust as the planets. Humankind is that thread in the web of creation. I love that idea that we're a single thread woven into this web of creation. And when we realize our true nature, which is our God self, our divine self, the Christ consciousness, your higher self, your Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it, you see God in all living beings because you know the same source is within you. So as Albert Einstein said, our task must be to free ourselves from this self-imposed prison, and through compassion, to find the reality of oneness. For we are one universal family. We are one with each other. We are one with the divine. And separateness is an illusion. It's the only thing that keeps us from the realization of our inherent divinity. So let us affirm that we are one with all of life, all of creation. Let us remember the truth that we are divine beings. And let us celebrate our oneness. And so it is. Namaste. And as we go into our meditation, I invite you to close your eyes. Allow your body to become still. Simply relax and let go. We have this beautiful opportunity now to enter into a higher state of consciousness, to open our hearts and know the presence of the living spirit within, the source of all joy, all peace, all wholeness, all oneness. So take a deep breath in. Release anything that is preoccupying you as you exhale slowly. And enter this pure moment. Feel the presence. It is the very potential, the light, and the joy of the divine. Enter into this now moment. And as you breathe in slowly and deeply, imagine that you can breathe in through your heart. And then breathe out through your heart. Let's do this several times. Breathe in through your heart. Breathe out through your heart. For in so doing, you are connecting your awareness with your heart center, which is the abode of spirit. And I honor this sacred space with the very breath that is breathing me and the very breath that is breathing you, filling our sacred body temples with light. Let us give thanks for the inner knowingness that the breath spiritually is the light of truth. A light that is brighter than any light that we can imagine. So as you breathe in deeply, fill your beautiful temple, your body, with this luminous light. Let go and allow that infinite spirit of divinity fill you with light and love. And feel the joy of that love. For it is that harmonic love, as when you walk on the beach and feel the sensation of the warm sand under your feet. It is the harmonic love that we hear as it whispers to us through the song of the trees. And if we truly listen with our heart, we can hear them singing. A beautiful song of praise and appreciation for life itself. For the love that is at the very core of who you are, who I am, is what allows us to be in relationship with life. For we are in relationship with the sounds of the earth, and the movement of the planets, the sun and the stars. Know that you are made of the same stardust. Unity is the song of life. It is the grand theme underlying the rich variations that exist throughout the cosmos. And in this moment, know that you are one with the divine. That you are loved. You are the beloved. And as you behold this infinite truth, as you stand in this inner knowingness, there are no conditions that can change this living truth. That you are the beloved. So feel yourself held in the arms of the divine. For this is the truth. Feel held, cherished, loved. Know in this moment that the divine, the God seed in you, is established to grow and to flourish. And you are more and more fully that which the divine has created you to be. As the energy of spiritual awareness grows within you, You can only succeed in becoming all that the divine has ordained you to be. And know that as we align ourselves, our hearts and our minds with this inner knowing, this oneness with the Source and all that is, then indeed we evolve in wonderful ways, and more of the bounty of Spirit manifests through us. Let the peace wash over you as we affirm, I am Spirit expressing as me. I am the light of the world. I am one with all creation. I am divine. And a deep gratitude in your heart for the opportunity to connect and to know the truth of your being. Let your heart be filled with joy and peace. As you gradually bring your awareness back into our sacred space. And when you are ready, you can gently open your eyes. Namaste. Let us close today with a prayer for protection written by James Dillett Freeman, Unity Poet Laureate. The light of God surrounds me. I am the light. The love of God enfolds me. I am the love. The power of God protects me. I am the power. The presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And the Lord watches between me and thee while we are absent, one from the other, and helps us to know that we are all one in spirit. And so it is. Namaste. Amen.